Right now, this is our time in the studio with Carolina Coral. I welcome our viewers. Let's move on to the news. Last night, Russian forces attacked Dnipro using strike drones. Several fires broke out in the city and private businesses were damaged. This was reported by local authorities. In addition, the enemy shelled the Marganets, Mirov, and Nikopol communities with artillery and Grad multiple rocket launchers. A civilian was killed as a result of the attack. Another person was wounded in the Sinelnikova district. Private businesses, a car, an apartment building, residential houses, and a gas pipeline were damaged. The Russians struck a police service vehicle in Kharkiv region with an FPV drone. A law enforcement officer was killed. This was reported by the regional police. During the day, the enemy shelled settlements in the Kharkiv, Bohodukov, and Lozova districts. For the attacks, the Russians used guided aerial bombs and drones. In Lozova, houses, outbuildings, vehicles, and a veterinary laboratory were damaged. In the Bohodukov district, private homes, power lines, and vehicles were damaged. Since the beginning of the day, Russian occupiers have shelled the Kherson region several times. As a result, a man was killed, and in the city itself, enemy troops attacked a residential building with artillery. An elderly woman was killed there. A medical worker was also injured. She was hospitalized with a concussion and shrapnel wounds to her face. Last night, Russian forces launched 138 aerial targets at Ukraine, 3 Kinzhal ballistic missiles, and 135 drones of various types. According to the Ukrainian Air Force Command, Ukrainian air defense managed to neutralize more than 90 drones and 2 Kinzhal missiles. The attack was repelled by aviation, anti-aircraft and missile troops, electronic warfare and drone units, mobile fire groups, and Ukraine's defense forces. The number of victims of the Russian attack has increased in Kyiv. In the morning, a woman died in a hospital. Thus, there are 7 dead and 36 wounded in the capital. The search and rescue operation in one of the city's districts has already been completed. Let me remind you that on the night of November 14th, Russia launched a massive attack on Ukraine, with Kyiv being the main target. 9 out of 10 districts of the capital were affected. Strikes were recorded at 22 locations. Residential buildings, hospitals, embassies, stores, and offices caught fire. Windows were blown out and facades were damaged in the buildings. Many residents were left without gas and heat. The Ukrainian Defense Forces launched a missile and bomb strike on the Ryazan Oil Refinery. The information was confirmed by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The facility produces gasoline and diesel, liquefied gas, and about 840,000 tons of aviation kerosene per year. It is this kerosene that is used by the Russian aerospace forces. Numerous explosions and a large-scale fire were reported on the plant's territory. In addition, the Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a Nebo-U radar station and occupied Crimea. This is one of the key Russian surveillance systems. Also, in the area of Tokmak, in the occupied part of the Zaporizhia region, a Russian military train was hit. Information about enemy losses at this stage is being clarified. Partisans from the Tesh movement have determined the exact location of the Russian Strela plant. In Orenburg, it produces P-800 Onyx missiles. According to their information, the enterprise is a key element of the military-industrial sector and regularly supplies Russian troops with high-precision missiles that are used for strikes against Ukraine. ATESH agents conducted detailed reconnaissance, specifically determining the exact coordinates of the production workshops, warehouses, finished products, security schemes, and shipping routes. The information obtained was handed over to the Ukrainian Defense Forces for further action. In the last 5 days alone, Russian troops have lost 524 soldiers and manpower on the Pokrovsk direction. Another 260 were wounded, according to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In total, over the past day, the Ukrainian Defense Forces eliminated another 1,000 Russian occupiers, and thus the total combat losses of the Russian army since the beginning of the full-scale invasion have exceeded 1,157,000 personnel. In addition, Ukrainian fighters destroyed 6 tanks, 9 armored vehicles, 20 artillery systems, 1 multiple-launch rocket system, 2 air defense systems, and eliminated 90 units of enemy automotive equipment. In the past 24 hours, there were 265 combat engagements. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. The most intense fighting is taking place in the Pokrovsk direction. There, 107 attacks were recorded. In the Lyman and Kostiantynivka directions, Ukrainian forces repelled 25 and 35 assaults respectively. Active fighting also took place in the southern Slobozhansky, Slovyansk, Oleksandrivka, and Huliai-Polei directions. Helping veterans return to a full life. A new stage of rehabilitation for Ukrainian defenders has begun in Lviv. 14 veterans of the war between Russia and Ukraine received prosthetics for sports and have already tried them out. For more details, see the report by Yulia Burrell.
At one of Lviv's sports grounds, 14 Ukrainian defenders are trying on active prosthetics for sports for the first time since their serious injuries. This is already the fourth such prosthetics event. Its goal is to make active sports accessible to everyone.
The feet look very simple, like this, futuristic. They're very recognizable, and I like how they look, and I picked out special socks to go with their pads.
Since 2023, Volodymyr has served in military intelligence. In the fall of last year, while leaving his position in the Donetsk region, the soldier hit a Russian mine and lost both legs. After many surgeries and months of rehabilitation, he's now learning to walk with prosthetics. He says these devices are light, comfortable, and allow for natural movement.
Basically, I put on my prosthetics in the morning and take them off at night before bed. After that, I take care of them, wash them, and all that stuff. But these prosthetics let me stay on my feet all day. Now I try to take part in anything I'm invited to, and I look for adventures myself. So that includes social projects and even fashion shows.
Serviceman Todor Klems from Bukovina also stood on a prosthetic of this kind for the first time. Now he dreams of climbing Hoverlaw with its help.
With this prosthetic, each step is much softer. Just much softer. So my first impression, what I liked, is that it rolls smoothly. Very soft, almost like on my own foot. I live in a mountainous area, so the first thing I want to do is go to the mountains.
Experts say that a quality prosthesis allows people after amputation to return to work, sports, and their usual rhythm of life. In particular, it helps them regain coordination more quickly.
They are significantly lighter. They're much lighter and provide more cushioning when walking, which makes it easier to move, for example, up and down stairs or over uneven surfaces. We usually hold various events for different sports where the guys can take part and try themselves out. Today, it's tennis. We've also had table tennis, running, and the guys have even tried boxing.
Thanks to these sports prosthetics, veterans regain not only the ability to engage in physical activities, but also their confidence in themselves. Organizers say the main goal is for every Ukrainian who has undergone an amputation to be able to live as active a life as they did before their injury. Yulia Bill, Vadim Dmitria from Lviv for Freedom TV channel.
Estonia has allocated 3.5 million euros to Ukraine for the purchase of Starlink communication systems. This was announced by Estonia's Minister of Defense, Hanno Pevkur. These funds are being provided through the IT coalition led by Estonia and Luxembourg. The minister noted that Ukraine is fighting every day for the freedom of all of Europe, including Estonia, and that it is necessary to help Ukraine in every possible way.
This is extremely valuable assistance for Ukrainians, which has a noticeable impact on the combat situation. The capabilities of Starlink are especially important, given Kyiv's intention to significantly increase the number of drones. After all, they require high-performance internet connectivity. In addition to weapons, information technology support is also critically important. And that's why I'm glad that we can help Ukraine improve its IT capabilities. In doing so, we increase the chances of Ukrainians winning the war, which claims hundreds of lives every day. Hanno Pevkur, Minister of Defense of Estonia, from a statement on the ministry's website.
The fighting in Ukraine must end as soon as possible. U.S. President Donald Trump stated this in an interview with GB News. According to him, the pressure that the U.S. and other countries are putting on the aggressor country will eventually force the Kremlin to stop the war against Ukraine.
This is a terrible bloodbath, the deadliest since World War II. We are putting pressure on Russia through India and oil. Other countries are also refusing it. After all, when Russia sells oil, it gets money to act. I think we'll handle it. Hopefully soon.
The U.S. will conduct another nuclear test fairly soon. President Donald Trump also made this statement. He noted that other countries, such as Russia and China, are already doing this. He emphasized that the U.S. has a larger nuclear arsenal than other countries. And he personally worked on its modernization, despite criticism. The American leader also noted that China could catch up to the U.S. in terms of nuclear arsenal strength within 4 to 5 years. At the same time, Trump expressed a desire to pursue denuclearization and proposed organizing a meeting with the leader to reduce nuclear arsenals.
We'll have nuclear tests because other countries are conducting them. There are countries that are conducting them. We have more nuclear weapons than any other country. I'm the one who modernized them and built some of them. I hated having to do it, but there was no choice, because others have them too.
The United States also plans to test nuclear delivery systems. This was stated by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He noted that the plan of American President Donald Trump includes testing technologies used to launch nuclear weapons from land, air, and sea. Former U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wyatt stated that the test won't involve nuclear explosions. Rubio's statement came amid reports of Russian tests of the intercontinental missile Fiercest and the underwater drone Poseidon equipped with nuclear power units. Meanwhile, the Sandia National Laboratories of the U.S. Department of Energy reported a successful test of a tactical thermonuclear bomb without a warhead. The launch was carried out by an F-35 fighter jet at the Tonopah Test Range in Nevada. The tests were actually conducted back in the summer from August 19th to 21st, but this was only reported now. The bomb's inert modules were successfully dropped, confirming the weapon's effectiveness. Allegedly, confidential reports to the U.S. president were the reason for the cancellation of the meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Hungary. For example, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov explained the breakdown of the agreement to the Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera. At the same time, he did not provide any evidence or direct quotes and also called reports that the summit was canceled because of Russia fake news. Notably, the Italian publication refused to publish this interview. According to Lavrov, the interview also claimed that the U.S. allegedly proposed a peace plan based on Ukraine renouncing NATO membership and recognizing the occupation of 5 regions. Putin was ready to discuss this, but after consulting with his allies, Trump supposedly refused to revisit the topic. It is worth noting that neither the State Department nor the allies have confirmed this Russian interpretation. The Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera demonstrated how to deal with Russian propagandists. You can't give them a platform where they can spread false information without restrictions. This opinion was expressed on the air of freedom. This was stated by Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. And, according to him, one should not expect reliable information from Lavrov and Peskov, since everything related to Russian foreign policy is built on lies.
In my opinion, it's impossible to be as ridiculous a character as Lavrov and Peskov, an even more ridiculous character. Just take another look. If you want a negotiation process, right now, I'm not discussing the nature of this war because it's clear that there is unconditional aggression from Russia, and of course, at any moment, the aggression can only be stopped if the aggressor itself stops waging war as such. So the first sign that you are truly ready, this is addressed to someone like Peskov, though it's pointless, is that you are ready to negotiate only if you stop the strikes, not escalate attacks on the civilian population. In other words, all the rest, all these talks, backroom games, the unwillingness to stop, and so on, none of that matters in the slightest. The absurdity of Peskov and Lavrov lies precisely in the fact that they blatantly call white black and vice versa. And it's so obvious and looks so disgusting. So coming back to Deleuze's career, he draws the right conclusion. And it would be great if other publications also drew such conclusions. I mean, on a global scale. It is absolutely unacceptable to give a platform to people like Putin, Lavrov, Peskov, and all the rest.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.